I want you to take a second and maybe go to a really dark place.
Okay.
I want you to just close your eyes and imagine the absolute lowest moment of your professional career.
Oof.
Maybe the job where you just felt invisible, or a boss who made it their life's mission to make you miserable, or, and this is the worst one, a moment of just public humiliation where you felt completely powerless. You have that image in your head.
That is a visceral request to start with.
Yeah.
I think most of us, if we're being honest, have a kind of fantasy draft of how that scenario plays out if we could do it all over again.
Right.
There's something deeply human about that desire to, balance the scales.
Exactly. So keep that image. Now imagine you suddenly have all the power. You have the money, the status, the confidence. You get the chance to walk back into that room and settle the score. What do?
It's the ultimate daydream.
Do you scream? Do you flip a table? Do you get them fired? Do you buy the company just to burn it down?
We are just wired for what, psychologists call retributive justice. We want the pain we felt to be felt by the perpetrator.
Yeah.
And usually our version of that justice looks a lot like destruction.
I hurt, so you must hurt.
Exactly.
And that is why today's deep dive is going to be so satisfying. We're looking at a fascinating piece of source material. It's titled The Biryani King, a recipe for redemption. And specifically, we're looking at a narrative arc inside it called The Fallen Plate. Now, I know the title sounds a little bit like a cooking competition show.
It does, a bit.
But trust me, this is pure cinema. It's got neon lights, rain-soaked streets, sizzling food, and a protagonist who goes on a journey that feels almost like a modern myth.
It really does. But what stands out to me in the research is that it's not just a story about food. The cooking is it's secondary. It's a case study in psychological transformation.
Yeah.
We're looking at this character named Pup, which is a telling nickname in itself. And we're tracking his shift from total victimhood to a very, very unique kind of empowerment. It really challenges our traditional narrative of what getting even is supposed to look like.
So let's unpack this. We start in a place that, frankly, sounds like an absolute nightmare. The setting is Fat Tony's diner.
Right.
And the source material just paints this incredibly vivid, greasy picture. It describes it as the underbelly of a forgotten city. You've got these harsh fluorescent lights that probably hum way too loud.
Oh, you can hear it.
The smell of stale grease hanging in the air, and this just overarching feeling of dread. It's the kind of place where dreams go to die.
And that environment is a character in itself here. In psychology, we talk a lot about environmental stressors. This diner is designed to be oppressive.
It's built that way.
The lighting, the noise, the grime, it all contributes to a state of chronic hypervigilance. You can't relax in a place like that.
And right in the center of this sensory assault is Pup. The source tells us he's just a teenager, barely a kid, working with raw and red hands.
That detail about his hands really struck me too.
Yeah. It shows the physical toll, the vulnerability, and just the sheer exhaustion of his existence. He isn't just working, he is being eroded.
And he's working for Fat Tony. Now, Tony isn't just a bad boss. He's described as having a volcanic temper.
Right.
The text says every shift for Pup was a tightrope walk over an abyss of boiling oil. That metaphor is so specific. It implies disaster isn't a possibility, it's an inevitability.
That's a good point. When you're walking a tightrope, you're not thinking about where you're going. You're just thinking about not falling.
Precisely. Your nervous system is constantly in fight or flight mode. You aren't thriving, you're barely surviving. And the tragic thing about that state is that it's unsustainable.
Eventually you slip.
Eventually, your focus slips. Gravity takes over.
And that brings us to the inciting incident. The tightrope snaps. Pup is carrying a stack of plates, probably way too many for one person, likely because he was too scared to make 2 trips. And he drops them. The source emphasizes the sound. Shattering ceramics. And then silence. That terrible, heavy silence where everyone stops eating and just looks at you.
That's the moment of social death. In a healthy environment, an accident is just an accident. You sweep it up, you apologize, you move on.
Right.
In a toxic environment, like Fat Tony's, an accident is a death sentence. It's a signal for the predator to attack.
And look at the reaction of the villain here. Fat Tony doesn't explode immediately. The source says he goes cold.
Which is so much scarier.
So much scarier. He's described as a mountain of a man and a predator. He doesn't yell, he just acts. That silence is infinitely more terrifying than screaming.
It creates this vacuum of terror. But it gets worse, doesn't it? It's not just a private dressing down.
Oh, no, it's a public spectacle. The text mentions the other workers are snickering like vultures. And the customers, This is the part that felt so modern and just sickening to me. Someone is filming it on their phone.
Of course they are.
It's not just a mistake. It's content for someone else's entertainment.
That's the digital panopticon effect. It adds a layer of permanent shame. It strips Pup of his dignity on a potentially a global scale. He's being objectified, and then comes the physical violence.
Yeah. Tony drags him by the scruff of the neck, literally like a stray dog, which just reinforces that nickname, Pup,
Right.
and drags him through the dining room, throws him out the back door into a grimy alley. It's as Pup lands hard on the asphalt, his belongings spilling out of his pockets. He's left alone, bruised, sobbing in the rain.
It's the absolute rock bottom.
Totally.
But if we pause here and analyze this is the complete dismantling of the self.
Yeah.
He's been physically ejected from the world he knew. It's violent and traumatic. But, and here's where it gets interesting, it is also a liberation.
How do you mean?
As long as he was walking that tightrope inside the diner, he was trapped. By being thrown into the alley, as painful as it is, he is finally free from the immediate threat of Tony. He's at zero. And as the narrator says, when you hit rock bottom, there's nowhere left to go but up.
Or as the story puts it, nowhere to go but spicy. I love that line. So we get a time jump here. Weeks turn into months. Pup doesn't just stay in the alley crying. He dries his tears and he turns to his heritage. He digs up his grandmother's secret biryani recipe.
This is the catalyst. This is where we see a psychological concept called sublimation. It's a mature defense mechanism where you take socially unacceptable impulses or negative emotions like deep shame, rage, and trauma, and you transform them into socially productive or, creative actions.
So he takes the heat of his trauma.
And channels it into the heat of the kitchen.
And he opens Pup's biryani palace. But let's be real, it's not a palace.
Not even close.
It's a rickety cart in a street market. But the description. It's painted in vibrant colors. It's got smoke wafting off it. The tagline is, "Taste the fire." It is the visual opposite of the gray fluorescent misery of the diner.
It's sensory overload in the best way. The source mentions the steam, the simmering spices, the rice grains infused with resilience. That word resilience is key.
Right.
He isn't just cooking food. He is reconstructing his identity. He is taking the fire that burned him and turning it into flavor.
And the people love it. The cart becomes a sensation. People are whispering, "Have you tried Pup's biryani? It's life-changing." He goes from being the kid snickered at for dropping plates to being a local legend.
It's a great success montage.
For sure. Money exchanging hands, happy faces. But, and here's where the plot thickens, the narrator tells us it wasn't just about the money.
Right. This is where we see the steel in his spine. The text says, a quiet, simmering resolve began to harden in Pup's heart. A meticulously crafted plan was forming.
Okay, so be honest. When you read meticulously crafted plan in a story about a guy who was wronged, what did you think was coming?
Oh, 100% revenge. I'm thinking Count of Monte Cristo.
Me too. I'm thinking he's going to buy the building and evict Tony. Or maybe he's going to plant rats in the kitchen and call the health inspector. I was ready for the takedown. I wanted to see Tony suffer.
Exactly. We are primed for conflict. We want to see the bully get punched in the nose.
Yeah.
And the story sets us up for that confrontation perfectly.
It does. We get another cinematic scene. It's a rainy night classic noir trope, and Pup is standing across the street from Fat Tony's diner.
The visual parallel here is so important. We saw Pup in the rain before, broken and sobbing in the alley. Now he's in the rain again, but he's shielded by darkness, standing tall.
Yes. The source describes him as having a quiet confidence and a fierce look in his eyes. And then you look at Tony. Tony is slumped at the counter. He looks older, weary.
This is a study in what we call status transactions. Before Pup even walks in the door, the power dynamic has completely shifted. Tony is static. Pup is dynamic. Tony is fading. Pup is rising.
So Pup crosses the street. He pushes open the door. The bell jingles weakly. The text notes, and just like the day he was fired, there is silence.
But it's a different kind of silence, isn't it?
Completely different. The first silence was mockery and anticipation of abuse. The silence is awe. It's shock. The customers stop chewing. Tony's jaw drops. They recognize him, but he's clearly not the Pup they knew.
He has returned as a king.
And here comes the move. I love this part. Pup walks straight to the counter. He doesn't yell. He doesn't make a speech about how you ruined me. He just slams a heavy, overflowing money bag onto the counter. Thud.
That sound, the thud of the money bag, replaces the sound of the shattering plates from the beginning. It's his impact on the world now. It's heavy, it's real, and it demands attention.
And he says, well, he doesn't really say much. He just acts. The narrator says he buys everything. Not the building, not the business. He buys the food.
Just the food.
Every stale donut, every dried out burger, every greasy fry, he clears out the entire inventory.
This is such a fascinating twist. Think about the confusion Tony must feel. He's stunned. He takes the money because, well, he's greedy and business is business, but he doesn't understand what is happening.
Not at all.
Pup isn't taking the means of production. He's taking the product. He's taking the very stuff that represents the mediocrity and the grease of that diner.
So staff packs it all up, probably just as confused, and Pup just watches with a knowing smile. Then he leaves. And I have to be honest with you, when I read this part, I was confused.
Yeah.
I actually felt a little let down. I'm thinking, wait, he just gave his abuser a massive payday? He just gave Tony the best sales night of the year. Why? Is he going to dump the burgers in the river? What is the plan?
That's the natural reaction. We think revenge means taking something away from the enemy. But Pup is playing a much, much higher level game here.
Okay, explain.
Think about it. If he burns down the diner or buys the building to fire Tony, he is still engaging in a battle with Tony. He is letting Tony dictate his actions. He's still trapped in a reactionary cycle.
So by just being a customer, albeit a weird, rich customer, he's refusing to fight.
He's doing something more powerful. He is rendering Tony irrelevant. He is treating Tony's life's work, this diner, as nothing more than a grocery store. It's a total dismissal of Tony's power. But the real reason becomes clear in the next scene.
Right, the reveal. Where does all that food go? The scene cuts to a dimly lit community center, maybe an elderly home or a shelter. People are sitting around looking a bit downcast. And then in walks Pup.
And this is the feast of kindness. This is where the redemption arc really lands. Pup brings in his cart, the legendary biryani, the case of the fire, but he also has the staff bringing in all the bags from Fat Tony's.
He serves them together. The source says he serves his biryani alongside the greasy diner leftovers, and the residents are thrilled. They're smiling. They're laughing. It's a feast.
There is deep, deep symbolism in this pairing. You have the biryani, which represents Pup's resilience, his heritage, his excellence, his post-traumatic growth. And then you have the diner food, which represents his trauma, his past, and the garbage he was thrown out with.
So by serving them together, he's
integrating his past.
integrating. What do you mean by that?
Well, if he had thrown the burgers in the trash, he would be trying to delete his past. He would be saying that part of my life was waste. But by serving them to hungry people, he's saying, I can use this. He's taking the thing that hurt him and using it to feed people.
Wow.
He is physically placing his trauma alongside his triumph on the same plate.
That is such a beautiful way to look at it. He didn't just throw the burgers away, he found a use for them. He elevated them. The text says he transformed forgotten food into a symbol of hope.
Precisely. And notice Tony's absence in this final scene. Tony doesn't get a redemption arc. He's back at his empty diner counting his money, alone. Pup is surrounded by community, laughter, and gratitude. The source explicitly states that Pup moved past revenge.
You know, it almost reminds me of that concept, the gray rock method.
Yes, exactly. The gray rock method is usually about becoming uninteresting to a narcissist or an abuser, so they leave you alone. Pup has done a grand version of that. He has moved to a plane of existence where Tony just doesn't matter. Tony is just a vendor now. Pup has stripped the emotional connection completely.
The emotional payoff here is huge. The narrator describes Pup watching the residents eat with a genuine, peaceful smile. He exchanges a glance with an elderly woman who nods at him. It's so quiet compared to the noise of the diner, but so much more powerful.
It reinforces the core message the narrator leaves us with. The greatest revenge isn't hurting those who hurt you. It's becoming everything they thought you couldn't be. Pup didn't just prove Tony wrong. He outgrew Tony's entire world.
And that final visual Pup walking away into the night, a silhouette against the city lights, he leaves a legacy of kindness. It's such a superhero ending, but without the capes. His superpower was taking his pain and turning it into something that nourished people.
It connects back to the very beginning. He started as a boy who dropped a plate and shattered the silence with a mistake. He ended as a man who filled the silence with laughter and full bellies. The journey from the alleyway to the community center is a journey from isolation to connection.
Man, that really makes you think about how we handle our own conflicts. It's so easy to want to destroy the Fat Tonys in our lives. We want to see them fail. But Pup's way success, combined with radical generosity, that seems like the ultimate flex.
It is the ultimate flex because it is constructive, not destructive. Destruction is easy. Anyone can smash a plate. Creation, making that biryani, building that business, and then building that community. That takes real strength. It takes a conscious decision to stop the cycle of abuse.
So here is the thought I want to leave you with today. We all have people who have doubted us, or hurt us, or thrown us out into the proverbial alley. If you achieved massive, undeniable success tomorrow, if you became the Biryani King of your industry, how would you use that power? Would you use it to dismantle your enemies, to make sure they suffer like you did? Or would you be too busy feeding your community to even notice they exist?
That's the question. Are you fueled by the need to destroy or the need to provide? Pup found his answer in the
He
spice.
sure did, and I hope you find your own spice out there, whatever it is.
Thanks for diving in with us.
Until next time.